We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
What makes you different is also what makes you great.
Personality and passion, upstage perfection every single time. Laughter has the same physical benefits to your body as exercise. So when you are out and you are laughing with your friends and you are laughing about life, it is the same as going to the gym. Almost.
Humor is the tool that I use to connect.
I encourage you to embrace your inner dork. Because if we all know that at our core is a dork, there's nowhere to go but up.
If you're laughing, you're listening. And if you're listening, you're learning.
Our speaker today was featured on the Dr. Oz show. She helps people engage more, stress less, and enjoy the journey of their lives. She's been a university professor, communications specialist, professional actress in New York City, fashion designer, and author of the new book, Half Full of It, Activating Optimism and Other Hardcore Soft Skills.
What is the big deal about laughter in the workplace? Companies with happy workers have lower turnover, they have more productivity, they have less burnout, and higher profitability. Laughter is a big deal for corporations, companies, organizations, associations, and families. Happiness and optimism is one of the most powerful ways that you can elevate everything. Because a better attitude equals a better life.
Here to help us laugh, our glass half full, please join me in welcoming our speaker, author, and shoe sale junkie, Tami Evans.
I have a confession. And I figure that a Vegas showroom is probably the best place to share it, because it's just us. Hi, I'm Tami, and I'm a recovering people pleaser. Can anyone relate? Is anyone? Oh, okay. Do you find that you can kind of keep everything going? You've got the balance. Everything's going along smoothly. Someone calls you and they ask you to do something, to volunteer, just something outside of your realm of responsibility. And without even thinking about it, you automatically say, oh, there are many of us here today. You say yes, but that is a slippery slope. And before you realize it, you find that you are face down in a pile of complex contracts and crappy catering and surly staff and precarious pipe and drape, and you're having a panic attack because, oh my goodness, you forgot to schedule a time to pee. Who's with me? Who's off the wagon right now? I have something that might help. The next time somebody asks you to do something outside of your realm of responsibility, what you do is you pause, you give them a finger, this finger, and you say, let me get right back to you on that. What it does, it's polite, it's concise, and it does exactly what you needed to do. It gives you some time and space to look at your schedule, look at your calendar, look at your other responsibilities, and most of all, to put the people pleaser back in the closet. So you want to say yes, you want to be the best that you can be for everybody that you're serving. But sometimes you have to say no to make room for yes. My people pleaser really showed its face really largely when I was living in New York City, and I went to work for a Broadway producer. It was really wonderful. The only problem with this job is that my boss, she's, what's the word? A difficult person, I think is how you say that. Her way of communicating was that if she didn't feel like she was getting through to you, then she would speak louder and lean in closer, and speak louder and lean in closer. So it all came to a head one day when we were sitting around a board meeting, and she was getting louder and louder and leaning in. She eventually reached across the table and flicked me in the forehead. I know! And that's about, So that flick really kind of set off a spark in me. I started taking classes in communication and conflict resolution and how to stand up for myself. And that's what I was doing on the side. And I stayed in that job, and I actually put to the test all of these things that I was learning. And I really found some tools that allowed me to stick it out and to deal not only with her, but for all of the challenges that I face in my life. And so what I'd like to do today is I'd like to share some of those things with you. Because listen, you've been flicked. You have been flicked, whether it's right in the forehead, but the world is full of flickers. And if you have lived at all, which I hope that you have, you're carrying some baggage with you. What I found about the flickers is they're trying to take their dirty duct tape baggage and they're trying to put it on us. So the next time you run into a flicker, here's my advice. Do not carry baggage that somebody else packed. Let me ask you, what do you think is the number one motivator in the workplace? Out loud. So money was the first call out. The cool thing is, money is not number one. Number one, yeah, you guys, you're so good. Appreciation. It costs nothing. Who can you appreciate? Who can you show appreciation for? Not only in your workplace, but in your home, in your life, everywhere you go. What blocks motivation? I'll tell you. Perfectionism. Anybody know this guy? Is anybody this guy? The difference between precision and perfection is when you stop and you don't move forward because it's at 80%, right? How many times have you been working on something and thought, it's almost there, I'll get back to it, and it's gone. Being a classically trained actress, what I really wanted was to be on stage in New York City, and I thought, the only way that that is ever going to happen is if you're perfect. And so for every audition, I became closer and closer to what I thought was perfect. And I never booked the gig. But I didn't give up. And I was preparing for probably the biggest audition that I had ever been on since moving to New York City. And I was getting myself pumped up. Had my platform Mary Janes on. Yeah. I had on my little black skirt. I'm feeling cute. I strut to the train station. I skip down the steps. And I turn my back to the other patrons on the train, and I watch the black subway walls go by, and I decide to flirt with myself and my reflection. You've done it. By the time I got to Times Square, I was confident. I thought, this is perfect. And as I got into the line at the Actor Equity Center, and a young woman came up behind me and she said, "Hi, I'm sorry, I don't want to bother you, but I just have to tell you." And I'm thinking, tell me what? I'm perfect. The entire back of your skirt is tucked up into your pantyhose. I almost went home. I almost turned around and went home, and then just as I'm rising up to turn around and go back to the train, my eyes come up, and I see directly across the street is a man playing the guitar in his underwear. So I went into the audition, and I told them the story, and we all had a big laugh about it, and then I did my audition, and it was not perfect. But I booked the gig. Because they said they liked my personality and my passion. It took that pantyhose moment for me to realize personality and passion, upstage perfection every single time. Inspiration for me is all about an outlook. And I think it's about optimism. Optimism is a choice that we make every day. Sometimes we have to make it every 5 minutes of a day, but it is a choice that we can make, the way that we look at the world. Optimism is about making a choice. You can either look at it through a zoom lens where you narrow in. I call it the loss lens. Because those are the people that are like, but what about, but you know, what if we, but you know them, right? The yabbit rabbits? That's the loss lens. When you zoom in and you're just looking at that one little thing. The other lens that we can choose to use is the wide lens. I call this the gain lens. Because I think if you change your lens, you change your view. So you ask yourself, How is this situation going to feel for me in 4 minutes, in 4 days, in 4 months, in 4 years? And if you ask yourself those questions, most of the time, most things won't even be uncomfortable after 4 minutes. Now, you might be facing people that are always using their loss lens. Use your gesture and then say, "May the fours be with you." Having an optimistic outlook in your profession and in your personal life leads to happiness, which leads to laughter. Laughter's a big deal. It's one of those things where, you know how you're like, oh, have you gone to the gym today? Have you worked out? Have you gotten your exercise? What I want you to also ask yourself, have I laughed today? Have there been some time when I've laughed with my team, when I've laughed with my family? Because laughs are lunges for the soul. And listen, I know that the world is not all rainbows and daisies, and that some of you are sitting there going, yeah, all right, chirpy. This is the kind of thing where when you are in that dark place, if you can help light a spark for yourself and for others, people who can laugh together can solve bigger, more complex problems together. And truly, you will get out of that dark place faster if you can shed some light into it. So when it's dark, light a spark. When you collect kindling, you can laugh your glass half full. It's one of those things that there's a lot of power in it. I encourage you to embrace your inner dork. Because if we all know that at our core is a dork, there's nowhere to go but up. And remember, if you do anything with your passion and your personality, then you will be adorkable.
Sometimes people are doing really wonderful things, but there's just the missing element of the fulfillment level of all the people that make that happen. To come in and be able to engage their employees and really use all of these tools, it can affect so much change so easily.